Marriage was supposed to be forever. For 10 years, I believed it was. My wife, Emily, and I had built a life together that looked perfect from the outside. 2 kids, a beautiful home, vacations that we posted about on social media, dinners with friends where we looked like the couple everyone admired. But behind the photos and the polite smiles, I started noticing cracks. It began small. She started working late. She used to call me on her lunch breaks, but now those calls became, "I was too busy today." Her phone, which once sat openly on the kitchen counter, now stayed glued to her hand or flipped upside down when left on the table. I didn't want to be paranoid. I told myself, she's just stressed from work. Maybe I'm overthinking. But the truth is, I felt a distance, a silence between us. The kind of silence that isn't peaceful. It's heavy, like something unsaid is always lingering in the air. One night after the kids went to bed, she said she was meeting a friend for coffee. I asked who. She said, "Just an old colleague." Her tone was sharp, defensive, as if I'd accused her of something when all I asked was a name. That's when the first real suspicion crept into my heart. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down something told me my wife was hiding a part of her life from me, and that thought was enough to keep me awake all night. Once you start noticing little things, you can't unsee them. Emily had always been affectionate, holding my hand when we walked, kissing me on the cheek when she passed me in the kitchen, curling up on the couch after dinner. But suddenly, it all stopped. When I leaned in to kiss her, she turned her face just slightly. When I reached for her hand, she pulled away under the excuse of needing to grab something. The intimacy between us was fading like the last light of a sunset. Then, there were the nights out. Book club, she'd say, or girls' night. But every time she came home, there was something different about her. Her perfume, stronger. Her makeup smudged in a way that didn't look like laughing with friends. It looked like hours spent trying to impress someone. One night, she walked through the door, and there was a faint trace of cologne on her clothes. Not mine, a scent I didn't recognize. I asked her how book club was. She smiled too quickly, too wide, and said, "Oh, it was great." Then she disappeared into the bathroom before I could ask anything else. Her phone, that became the biggest clue. She used to leave it on the nightstand while she slept. Now it was under her pillow. She never used to care if I picked it up to check the time, but now the moment my hand moved toward it, she would wake up, eyes wide, like I had reached for a gun. Text messages would come in late at night. She'd turn her screen away. Once I saw her smile at a text, really smile, the kind she hadn't given me in months, and then she typed back quickly, hiding the words from me. My stomach twisted. My heart pounded. I wanted to trust her. God, I wanted to believe this was all in my head. But every sign pointed to the truth I didn't want to face. And the worst part? The more I tried to reach her, the more she pushed me away. It was like she had already left me emotionally, and I was the last one to realize it. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. We were supposed to have lunch at her parents' house. Emily seemed tense the entire drive, glued to her phone, thumbs flying across the screen. She barely looked at me, barely said a word. When we arrived, her mom greeted us warmly, hugging me first. Emily went straight inside. Then, it slipped out. Her mom, smiling innocently, said, "It's so nice that Emily is reconnecting with Alex again. I always thought he was such a sweet boy back in high school." My chest tightened. "Alex?" I asked. Her mom's smile faltered. "Oh, she didn't tell you? He came along to the family vacation last weekend. They all had such a wonderful time together." The words slammed into me like a truck. Family vacation? Last weekend? Emily had told me she was going on a retreat with her coworkers. She had said no phones were allowed, so she would be unreachable. I remember standing there holding a casserole dish, staring at her mom, trying to process the betrayal. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the food. When Emily walked back into the room, she saw my face. She froze. She knew. And in that moment, everything was clear. The late nights, the phone under the pillow, the fading affection, the cologne. She wasn't figuring herself out. She was figuring out how to replace me. I didn't say a word during lunch. I couldn't. My throat was tight. My heart was racing. I just went through the motions, pretending everything was fine, because I didn't want her parents to know what I had just learned. But the second we got into the car, silence turned into fire. I asked her, "How long?" She looked away. Her lips trembled. And then she whispered the words that crushed me. "I never meant for it to happen. But Alex and we've been seeing each other." Silence. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring. That was the exact moment my world cracked in half. I didn't yell. I didn't cry, I didn't beg, I just stared at her as the weight of her words sank in. She kept rambling. "I didn't plan this. It just happened. I still care about you." But every syllable felt like poison. Finally, I said 6 words that shut her down completely. "You've made your choice, so be it." When we got home, she tried to follow me inside, but I stopped her at the door. I handed her a small bag I had packed earlier that week. Her toothbrush, pajamas, charger, Somewhere deep down, I had been preparing for this. Her face went pale. "You're kicking me out?" she whispered. "No," I said, calm but cold. "I'm just making room for the truth." That night, while she was God knows where, I gathered every piece of her belongings: clothes, shoes, photos, books, random trinkets, and boxed them up. I labeled each one neatly and had them shipped to her parents' address the next morning. By the time she tried to text me, her number was blocked, her email filtered, her social media muted. I didn't curse her. I didn't send paragraphs. I didn't give her the satisfaction of drama. I gave her silence. And silence, I learned, is the sharpest knife. But I wasn't done. The next step was reclaiming myself. I logged into my accounts and removed her from every shared expense. Streaming services? Gone. Gym membership? Gone. Credit card? Disabled. Her independence journey had just gotten very real. The last thing I did was change my relationship status online to single, not out of pettiness, but out of truth. Within hours, mutual friends started reaching out, asking what happened. I didn't badmouth her. I just said, "Ask Emily. She'll tell you. Let her carry the weight of her choices." The most ironic part? Within a week, her mom called me. Not Emily, her mom. She apologized. She said she had no idea Emily was seeing Alex behind my back. She said she thought we were still happy. And then she whispered, almost like a confession, "She's already fighting with Alex. He's not who she thought he was." I just smiled. For the first time in months, I felt light, because the truth was finally hers to live with, and my silence was the loudest revenge she would ever hear. The first week without Emily felt strange. The house was quiet, too quiet. No hair ties on the counter, no perfume lingering in the air, no "I'll be late, don't wait up" messages. But silence, I realized, wasn't emptiness. It was freedom. I started focusing on myself again. Morning runs replaced sleepless nights. Books replaced arguments. The gym became my therapy. Within a month, I had lost 10 pounds of stress and gained back a confidence I didn't know I had lost. Meanwhile, Emily's shadow wasn't far. Friends kept telling me she was miserable. Apparently, Alex, the high school sweetheart, wasn't the fantasy she had built him up to be. He was insecure, controlling, and broke. Their Instagram smiles lasted only 2 weeks before the cracks showed. I never reached out. I never gloated. I never even looked at her page. But word travels, and I heard enough to know karma was working overtime. One night I ran into her best friend at a coffee shop. She hesitated, then said, "She talks about you a lot. She says she made the biggest mistake of her life." I sipped my coffee and smiled. Maybe once those words would have meant something. Now, they were just noise, because I wasn't living in her story anymore. I was writing mine. I started traveling again, something I had put on hold because she didn't like flying. I took weekend trips, met new people, even said yes to a few dates, and slowly, the memories stopped hurting. They became lessons instead. The final nail in the coffin came months later. I got a letter, yes, a handwritten letter from Emily. She wrote, "I see now what I lost. I thought I needed space to find myself, but I only lost the best thing I ever had. If you can ever forgive me, maybe we can talk." I folded the letter, placed it in a drawer, and never replied. Because forgiveness isn't about giving someone else peace. It's about giving yourself peace. And I already had mine. For months, my life was a quiet rebuild. Wake up, work, gym, journal, sleep. But slowly, something shifted. It wasn't just about healing. It was about becoming. I started saying yes to opportunities I'd always brushed off. A colleague invited me to a weekend seminar on entrepreneurship. Normally, I would have said, "Nah, I'm busy." But this time, I went. That single event opened doors. I met mentors, people who weren't just surviving heartbreak, but building legacies. For the first time in years, I wasn't defining myself by a relationship. I was defining myself by my own damn dreams. Around this time, my social circle changed too. Instead of couples' dinners filled with fake smiles and polite tension, I was meeting people who challenged me, encouraged me, believed in me. And somewhere along the way, I noticed I wasn't waiting for Emily to come back. I wasn't even thinking about her anymore. She had become a chapter, but I was already in a new book. The biggest turning point came one night when I looked in the mirror. For the first time in a long time, I recognized the man staring back. Not the broken, betrayed version. Not the anxious, insecure guy who wondered if he wasn't enough, but the stronger, sharper, wiser version. The one who walked through fire and didn't burn. That's when it clicked. Cheating doesn't just break you. It reveals you. It strips away illusions, forces you to rebuild, and shows you what you're really made of. And me? I realized I wasn't made to be someone's second choice. I wasn't made to be lied to, used, or replaced. I was made to rise. 6 months later, my life looked nothing like before. The man who once waited at home, suspicious of every late-night text, was gone. The man who once bent over backward to make it work with someone unworthy, gone too. In his place stood someone free. I'd grown my side business into something real. Late nights of frustration turned into late nights of strategy. What started as a small freelance hustle was now paying more than my 9 to 5. I traveled, not to escape, but to experience. Standing on a quiet cliff in Greece, watching the sun melt into the Aegean Sea, I laughed. Because 6 months ago, I couldn't even imagine joy again. And here I was, not just surviving, but living. Then one evening, out of nowhere, Emily's name popped up again. A simple text. "Hey, I've been thinking about you. I made a mistake." I stared at the screen for a long time. Not with longing, not with anger, but with clarity. I didn't reply. I deleted the message. And in that moment, I knew I wasn't broken anymore. Because the truth is, closure doesn't come from them. It comes when you finally realize you don't need them. And as I closed my phone, I whispered to myself, I'm done for good. That night, I went out with friends. We laughed, we danced, we talked about the future. And for the first time, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever. Hope, not the fragile kind that depends on someone else keeping promises, but the kind that lives inside you, the kind no one can take away. And that's how I knew. Her betrayal didn't end my story. It started my real one. Looking back now, it almost feels like it all happened to someone else. The lies, the late nights staring at the ceiling, the broken trust. But the truth is, it happened to me, and it shaped me. I used to believe betrayal was the end of love, that once someone tore your heart apart, you could never piece it together again. But now I know, betrayal is not the end. It's the beginning of something raw, painful, and eventually transformative. Emily thought she took everything from me, my trust, my stability, my future. But she gave me something instead. She gave me the push I needed to find myself. Without her betrayal, I'd still be living half asleep, clinging to something fake. With her betrayal, I woke up and I started living for me. And here's the part I never thought I'd say. I don't hate her anymore. Because forgiveness isn't about excusing someone else. It's about setting yourself free. So if you're listening to this, if you're sitting in the dark with that same hollow feeling in your chest, wondering if you'll ever breathe again, hear me clearly, you will. Not because they'll come back, not because you'll get revenge, but because one day you'll realize you never needed them in the first place. And when that day comes, you'll smile, just like I do now. Not because of what you lost, but because of everything you found, yourself, your strength, your future.